Okay, My Steve by Terri Irwin. As you can see, very cute on the cover. Steve, Terri, and a little koala. I read this book a few months ago, and I'm just now having the chance to review it. But oh my goodness. It's one of my favorite books I've ever read. It's so sweet. I recommend it. I have bought this book for other people and made them read it. And, okay, I'm gonna look back at my notes. I always write notes in the back of my book. But okay, first let's talk about Steve. So, I loved hearing Terri describe Steve in this book and sort of getting to know Steve through the lens of Terri. First of all, I think just what a wonderful thing to be introduced to such a worthy cause at such a young age. His parents really instilled a passion for wildlife in him, and I think that most people go through the world looking for something to be passionate about and not sure what it should be. So I think that's a great blessing that his parents gave to him, and he really took it and ran with it in an incredible way. I feel like sometimes, not in all cases, but a lot of famous people who die young, if you read about them, you kind of get a sense that maybe they had a bit of a premonition that they were going to die young. And Terri mentions that Steve didn't think he was going to make it past 30. And he certainly didn't waste a minute of his life. He's known for his enthusiasm and his energy, right? But he was always getting stuff done. And it was incredible to read about that and just see how busy he always kept himself, and he wasn't afraid of pain. I love a story she tells about him seeing, I think it was a porcupine quill, and he took it and he immediately stabbed it into his arm, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I just wanted to see what it feels like." And she's like, "How does it feel?" And he said, "It's quite painful, it hurts." And most people wouldn't stab themselves in the arm with a porcupine quill, and most people wouldn't do a lot of the things that he did, and he wasn't scared of if something was gonna hurt him. He wanted to explore, he wanted to get things done, and even if it was difficult, that never held him back. I feel like he maybe looked at pain as a prerequisite to progress, and it is in a lot of cases. If you want to achieve something, it's not going to be easy. I also really enjoyed her talking about his fire stare. She talked about how he would go build up a big fire in the backyard and just stare at it. And I recently listened to Robert talking about that also, and saying that he enjoys to do the same thing. And I felt like, you know what? In a world where most people are staring at their phones nonstop, can't be pulled away from their social media or YouTube videos or Netflix or whatever streaming, I think it would do us all a bit of good to just stare at a fire a little bit more often instead of a screen. I guess it's an opportunity for reflection and introspection that most people just tune out nowadays. So that's a good idea for me, a takeaway. Okay, stare at a fire more often and just less of the phones. Yeah, I feel like all of her stories about him just made him feel like a real life superhero. So that's a bit about Steve that I enjoyed from this book. Now let's talk about Terri, because oh my goodness, so impressed by Terri. What an amazing woman. There's this line from Sleeping Beauty that says, 100 years is but a day to a steadfast heart. And Terri Irwin is the epitome of a steadfast heart. This woman has not gone on a date since Steve died. She says, I'm not interested in dating. I had my soulmate, you know, and I think she probably feels like she still does, you know. And okay, before I even get into their marriage, wait, let me back up for a minute. Let's just talk about Terri before she met Steve. She's somebody who always has just gotten started on her goals without waiting for an invitation. If there was not a seat for her at the table, she made her own seat and brought it to the table. Hearing her talk about, you know, there was a dog when she was a kid that she saw, and it was going by, and her teacher wouldn't let her help it, and she felt like, I don't want to be the person. She said that she took a resolve at that time of, I'm not going to be the person who just finds something to be somebody else's problem. I want to be somebody who does something when I see something, when I see an animal that needs help. And hearing her talk about her cougar, like, rescue and cougar sanctuary that she had was really interesting. I think that would be a really cool... Actually, I don't know if they... Well, I think that she still has... There's, like, places that she used to be associated with when she lived in Oregon that are still in business, and I think would be really cool to visit one day. But she's just an amazing case of perseverance and resilience, and it's so impressive to me. I think her love story is the most romantic fairy tale ever. I was just coming off of finishing the ACOTAR books when I read this book, and ACOTAR was like, ugh, gross, so annoying, can I please be done reading this, ugh. And the love story I did not find compelling in the slightest. And then to read this, I was like, oh my gosh, finally, a real love story. And in the ACOTAR books, it's very, like, sexually explicit, almost as if that makes it a better love story. Like, the more intimate it gets sexually, like, that will make it a better story. And then I was reading this story at the same time, where it's like, the most intimate detail that she gives is like how she felt when he hugged her, and yet it's so much more powerful of a story. I loved how when she went back to Oregon after having met him, and she was, you know, going to sleep every night thinking about him, waking up every day thinking about him, and just thought, you know, he's long forgotten about me because I'm not from Australia, and, you know, it was nice to meet each other, but I guess that's it on his end. And then he just calls her up after 2 months of her waiting for a phone call and says, hey, I've got some time off work, I'm coming out to Oregon, can I see you? I was just laughing, like, this whole time she thought that he didn't care about her and that he wasn't interested anymore, and in reality he was spending all his time thinking, how am I going to work it out so that I get over there to her. Their love story is so sweet. It's so sweet. And I also thought I was really impressed by how she was always so admiring of Steve, so patient with Steve, never inconvenienced by his energy and his lifestyle. She was never resentful, even when, you know, he was really busy. And she praises him for the way that he did show up with her, with the kids, and being as involved as he could be. I don't know, I think that especially when people have kids, it's easy to kind of pick apart your spouse and feel entitled to certain things and get petty and resentful, and she just praised him through all of that. Like, she talks about a time when she was on the beach, like, he was surfing and she was on the beach with Bindi, and I can imagine that for a lot of wives with a young baby, you'd be thinking, like, okay, you have some time off, like, you're working all the time, and now you have time off, and you're gonna go surfing, like, instead of being here on the beach with Bindi, like, giving me a break from taking care of the kids, you know? And instead, where her head was at in that moment was, oh my gosh, look at him surfing. I want to take some photos of him. She just wanted to photograph him surfing. She just really cherished him, and it's so clear. And she cherished her life with him. And then once he was gone, once again, instead of being broken and caving under the weight of all the pressures that she had on her, she stood up tall, stronger than ever, and just knew that she was gonna have to fill in the gaps from now on, and just bravely, admirably chased down all of his ambitions, all of his dreams, and then some, and extended it. She talked about how they had made a 10-year plan for the zoo, and after he passed away, she sat down with her team and said, okay, this was his 10-year plan. I want to do this in 5 years. It's just so clear. She was on the Wiggles podcast recently, and of course I listened to it. I will listen to anything that I can listen to Terri ever. Any interview that she ever does, I will listen to it. And she was saying that there was journalists at the time when he passed away who were taking bets on how long it would take for her to sell the zoo. And nobody bet longer than a year. And now, I mean, he died in, I think it was 2007, maybe it was 2008, or 2006. Now it's 2025, and she's still going strong. I think it's been 18 years since he passed away, maybe 19 years. She's still going strong. And not only that, but, like, she's not just maintained what he had, she's increased it again and again. She's such an impressive woman. If she writes another book, I will certainly be reading it. I love Steve Irwin. Love Terri Irwin. I think that she's such a great example. I think that all the Irwins, particularly Terri and Steve, are such good examples to us about what's important in the world and the fact that you can make your mark on the world. And I think that they're crazy famous in Australia. I don't live in Australia. Would love to, but I don't. And over in the US, I feel like maybe they're getting a little bit more popular now because Robert, like, I think more people know about Robert. But when I think about the celebrities that we have in the US, the biggest celebrity that we have over here, I feel like, are the Kardashians. And I feel like, man, in a world full of Kardashians, we should all be trying to be an Irwin. Because I'm not saying anything bad about the Kardashians, okay? I watch their show. But the markets that they're capitalizing on are quite different than the work that the Irwins are trying to do. And just to show that there is, I don't know, there's a lot of wholesome work to be done. And it's inspiring to see people who are putting all of their energy and orienting their entire life around doing it. So, they've got their own charity, Wildlife Warriors. If you are interested in donating or buying anything from their zoo, you can shop online from their zoo. Ooh, do you want to see something cool also? I did get this. This was a birthday present or a Christmas present from my mom for me. But we got this from their website, and look, boom, autographed by Terri. I also have Bendy's book autographed, but I wish that they had autographed it in person. I would love to meet them in person. I have met Robert Irwin. I met Robert Irwin like a month ago. He was totally lovely, super nice. I would love to meet Terri one day. Anyways, have you read this book? Are you going to read this book after hearing all the good things that I have to say about it? And I can't wait one day after this life to read Steve's book, My Terri. The way that she talks about him and the love that they had, I've listened to interviews where he talks about her. So sweet to hear all the things he says about her. He called it the Terri factor. He said, I've got the Terri factor, because he knew that his wife was behind him all the way and supporting him all the way. And you know, that's how you want your spouse to feel about you. Like, they can do anything because they know that they've got you. They've got the Terri factor. But I'd love to hear a book also. Anyways, I hope that you guys are having a good day. Please read the book. Please talk in the comments about the Irwin'S, and I will be chatting up in there with you because I love to talk about the Irwin'S. Okay, bye-bye.